Good morning. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Marilyn Orr, President of the club, and we are thrilled to have you join us today. This meeting broadcast is available on HCTV, as well as our Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel and Facebook. Our club meets weekly using this digital platform, Zoom. When we meet in person, it's at Laurel Lake Retirement Community for breakfast. We hope to get back to that soon. We meet most Wednesday mornings from 7:15 to 8:30 a.m. So come out to join us for a meeting. We would love to have you as a guest. To learn more about Rotary, our club, and the impact we are having on our local community and the world, please visit our website, rotaryhudson.org. So enjoy this meeting today and help us share the message that Rotary opens doors of opportunity.
Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. It's good to see everyone this morning. Our invocation this morning is by Kelly Brennan.
Morning, everyone. May you have enough happiness to keep you sweet, enough trials to keep you strong, enough sorrow to keep you human, enough hope to keep you happy, enough failure to keep you humble, enough success to keep you eager, enough friends to keep you comfortable, enough faith and courage in yourself to banish sadness, enough wealth to meet your needs and one thing more, and enough determination to make each day a more wonderful day than the one you had before. May you live to be 100 and have one extra year to repent. Amen.
Thank you, Kelly. And to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test this morning, Joe Avella.
Thank you, Ron. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And now our president, Marilyn Orr.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to our meeting. The first thing I'd like to do is give a get well shout out to Peter Spagna. Pete was feeling poorly for about a week or so, thinking he had the flu, and then he had his COVID test. And of course, it came back positive. So I'm hoping that he recovers quickly and is soon back to join us. We have a really busy schedule today with lots of important information to share. And so we're going to jump right in. The first thing we're going to do is welcome our newest member. And we're going to learn a bit more about Nicole Kowalski this morning. So John Adams and Nicole, please both unmute and let's get this program rolling. Thank you.
Good morning, Nicole. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So it is my honor to introduce you to your fellow Rotarians to get to know you better. And so the idea here is that as we see each other, hopefully one day in person and maybe sit next to each other and break bread, that you really kind of know, hey, who is this person? Because this is such a diverse and extremely talented group of people that we started this idea last fall just as a way to really get to know the person that we call a fellow Rotarian. So that's what we're going to do in the next 8 minutes or so. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I read your application and I noticed some interesting things, that you are the mother of Ella. I think we saw her last week. She made a presence during our meeting.
Yeah, she might be more presents. She might come along sometimes.
Okay. that you have Alfie and Lindy are your two family cats, so you're a cat person.
Yes.
And you own Kowalski Communications Consulting. So you're a marketing consultant, right?
Yep.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Kent State University.
That's Kent State. Got it.
Local.
And then you also shared some personal experience about your involvement with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. That was quite a presentation last week, wasn't it?
I really enjoyed that presentation. And like I said to everyone, it's been a really rewarding experience. So if anyone is considering it, I'd recommend it.
And then you are a recent addition to council in Hudson as well. So councilwoman and really working to make our community as good as it can be. So, okay, so you've got Kowalski Communications, you've got Ella, you've got council. You've got a lot going on.
I do.
So, so tell us who your husband is.
My husband's name is Ross. He is an attorney with a firm called Tucker Ellis in Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
Prior to being an attorney, he was an engineer. So he works in the intellectual property department, which goes hand in hand with being an engineer. And he went to Akron for his law degree and Ohio Northern for his undergrad. He likes to play music. So, if pre-COVID, some of you might have seen him playing out at some of the local bars. And he's very talented.
So what would be something about you that I mean, you're pretty involved and you've got a lot going on, but what would be something about you, Nicole, that you're most proud of?
That I'm most proud of?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, honestly, the thing that I'm most proud of is my daughter. I think it's one of those things where I had no idea how much I was going to love her and how much I would truly, I always knew I wanted to be a mother. And I always knew that was going to be my most important and favorite job. But until it happens, I guess I never really realized how much I would love it. So I'm so proud of Ella. Yesterday, she sat up by herself for the first time. And oh my goodness, I was going crazy. I was so excited about it. So
how old is Ella?
She's going on 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, congrats. And now, how long have you been in Hudson?
So my husband bought his house in 2014, but
that's right. You did share this story.
I'm sorry, 2013. And then I said, all right, well, to make it official, you got to put a ring on it. So then I moved in and officially and changed my voter registration in 2014. So.
Got it. Very good. So what are some things going on council? Probably no ho hum, not much happening there right now, right?
Oh, nothing at all. Of course.
Yeah.
Council, it's been really great. I'm really honored to represent all of you as an at-large members. So I've really enjoyed my time so far. I was sworn in at the beginning of December. So I've been acting as a councilwoman for a little over 2 months now. And right now we have some exciting things going on. Yesterday we had a discussion about how, a very narrow discussion, if you will, about how to move forward with conducting a survey to learn more about the community's wants and needs for the area that's come to be known as the Phase 2 area. We recently passed some legislation to help regulate short-term rentals. I don't know if you guys remember from the news a few months ago, there was a large party that really impacted some of the neighboring homes and residents. So we implemented some business regulation for that to prevent anything like that from happening. And then, this year we're also looking towards a lot of projects that are going to improve infrastructure. So that's really exciting. Some of these roads and infrastructure, for example, the Owen Brown Bridge near that phase 2 area. There's a lot of things that we're going to be doing this year to make improvements. And so a lot of those things have been approved, new sidewalks, things that people are really excited about.
I was looking over your interest on your application, and you may have checked every box on there. So you have a very diverse interest in so the Memorial Parade, publicity, which kind of ties hand in hand with your marketing consulting,
Yeah.
the Taste of Hudson, Santa on the Green, Art on the Green, Fall Fundraiser, Annual Gala, Social. So you're not just going to be a Rotarian in name, you're going to be a true Rotarian in action as well, it looks like. So that's pretty neat to see.
Thank you. Yeah, so one of the other groups that I enjoy volunteering for is Hudson Community First. And so when I was looking at some of those options, it struck me that there's some similarities between the volunteer actions that I perform for Hudson Community First and Rotary. And so, you know, I felt like I could be of assistance in some of those areas should I be needed.
Very neat. Well, we are really excited about having you part of this great group. You'll find, as many of us have found it to be a group of very charismatic and caring individuals that want to put their hands on and make what they're doing or involved with better. So looking at your resume that you have, you are going to fit right in with this group very, very well. And so we're excited to have you, Nicole. And I think I can speak for all of us that we look forward to the day where we could break bread personally and sit next to each other for breakfast at a Rotary meeting or something, and continue to build our membership with great people like you. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited as well. Every time I tune in, it's always nice to see some faces, because some of you I've either, you know, met through Rotary like this or emailed, you know, Den Rich. I never knew what you looked like until Rotary. So I'm excited to officially someday, I don't know if we're going to go back to shaking hands or not, but to meet all of you in person.
Yeah, got it. Well, Nicole, thank you. And we look forward to having you involved and making this chapter a better chapter because of it. So have a good day, and let's get into the rest of our meeting. I know there's a very full agenda, and with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you again.
Thank you, John.
Well, welcome, Nicole. It's wonderful to have you. She is taking a new role within our club. Evan McCauley is no longer our youngest member. Nicole is now taking that title. And so I think it's her challenge to help find yet another young member to join with us as well. And at this point, we're going to get started with the major reason for our meeting today, which is our club assembly. And so Jay Yard, could you please unmute and let's hear what the Strategic Planning Committee has been up to.
And Pat, would you kindly start the slides? Thank you, Marilyn. And welcome, Nicole. I want Portman and your question. Take a look at the Strategic Planning Committee. You're welcome. And I'm getting a message. My internet connection is unstable. So, okay, good. Let me tell you, it's a real pleasure to help convey the deliberations of our planning committee. Today's session is designed to, one, help all members understand the planning process that we're employing, and to share the committee's findings, and finally, to encourage members to embrace the areas of interest that appeal to them and to get involved. Your planning committee is comprised of a number of members with professional strategic planning experience, lots of it. The current president is a member. The next president is a member, and a past president is a member. And I assure you that all people are experience after 6 months. To determine where
He can't hear you.
we're heading. Very important.
Unfortunately, Jay, we're having real
To
problems hearing
recommend
you.
how we get there.
We can't hear you.
Oh no,
It's,
I
You're
don't know
fro-
what to
you're
do
frozen.
about that.
Yeah, I
but we
think
can
it's
hear
his
you
internet.
now.
No, Mimi,
I can
it's
hear
his
Jay.
internet, so I think he knows that. But so
Yeah.
Jay, would someone else be able to continue with your presentation? Who's maybe got, not me,
Was
because
any-
my internet's kind of unstable too.
Anything
Well,
taking
no,
up
I'm-
bandwidth in your house, Jay?
No,
I think he needs to get, on the Velocity broadband.
unless it's the dog. No. Well, let me throw this to Mike, and let me point out that Mike proposed vision statement, and by the way, he was also our membership was quickly coming to fruition. So Mike, take it away. I hope they can hear you.
Okay, how's this? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
All right, great. One of the things I think Jay was gonna go into, and let me just do this real quickly, but kind of as a lead in. But some of the questions in front of us as a club are always, number one, how do we decide what to work on? How do we establish priorities? Number two, and number three, how do we continue to grow and thrive as an organization? Now, a strategic plan provides us with a framework or a context to help answer those questions. Because it's, when we have a real and good strategic plan in place, it will define where we want to go, how we plan to get there, who needs to do what by when, and how we'll measure progress so we'll know where we are. Well, that's all great stuff, but when you sit down to try to actually put together a real strategic plan, one of the things that happens is, you start to run into some real serious soul searching kinds of questions. Like, what are we really trying to accomplish here as an organization? I mean, really get down to it. What are we really trying to do? What impact do we want to have? And who are we really trying to serve? And also, who are we anyway as an organization? What are we all about? So those are pretty fundamental questions. Well, when you end up answering those questions, what you end up with is a mission statement. And that's what you're looking at on this first slide. And so we put this together as a committee as a proposed mission statement for the membership to review and to think about and to get back to us with any feedback. And we're going to propose this mission statement to the board in the very near future. Okay, so likewise, we can go to the next slide. When we're trying to put together a strategic plan, you also run into the issue of what do we want our club and the community we serve to look like in the future? What's our long range look? In other words, what are we trying to achieve in the long term? And so answering that question gives us what we call our vision statement. And our vision statement is expressed in terms of what our vision is for the community that we serve, and also, next slide, what our vision is for our club. So again, take a look at that when you have some time and let us know what you think. Finally, when you're building a plan, you realize that you have to have a common understanding of what you stand for as an organization. You know, what behaviors do we value above all else? How will we conduct ourselves while working to achieve the mission and vision? How will we treat members of our community and our own organization? And how will we judge the outcomes of our activities in terms of fairness and truth? And so the things we stand for and how we judge our outcomes are shown here as our core values and the Rotary four-way test. So in summary, this is our starting point. Actually, it's our main reference point for navigating through the development of a strategic plan. Our mission, our vision, and our values are what we always refer back to whenever we question who we are, what we're trying to accomplish, and how we should operate. Thank you. Back to you, Jay.
Next slide, please. Okay, let's see if Jay is, I suggested that he try to come in via his phone.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that's
Can you
going to
hear me?
work. Or if he's,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I am on my iPhone, so here we go.
Jay, you're getting feedback from your computer, so
The next thing we
you
want
might
to
turn down the sound on your computer.
Turn off the sound on your computer, Jay.
Okay. Okay. That work? You hear me?
Yes,
All right. Are we good?
yes.
Okay, here we go. All right.
But we are still getting
let's-
sound from your computer.
Still getting that
in.
feedback.
I think maybe I can take it from here.
All right, how about
Okay.
now?
Could we go back one slide, please?
I think I got it.
Okay.
Now, are we still doing feedback?
We are. Jay, I'm going to suggest that you leave the session on your computer and perhaps just speak to us. On your computer, perhaps just speak to us. Perhaps just speak to us. Perhaps just speak to us. While we're looping.
I'm trying to speak to you on the on my. Trying to speak to you on the
I think
Sorry
perhaps,
about this.
James, is there any way that you could remove Jay from the session so that he could just speak to us? Let's see if we can get that going, because I really want to hear his content. I know I was having computer issues this morning as well.
You want me to turn my computer?
I want you to leave the session and then just speak to us through the phone.
Jay
I
is
think
now
you'll
off
be
the
able to
session.
know where we are. Okay. Okay, Jay, can we start again, please, with the survey results? I thought he had him here via his iPhone.
The iPhone. Okay.
There we go.
All right. All right. Let's get on with this. We appreciate you participating in the survey and certainly providing your valuable suggestions. We're going to take a look at the community needs and Rotary services section first. And it's interesting that when we look at health services, maybe it's the times, but certainly EMS is the most highly supported by 80% of you. Gift of life is somewhat less. Youth and educational services, service learning, and Hudson High School scholarships are supported by 86% of you in both cases. The four-way speech contest and workshops are less than that. And particularly the workshops, there seems to be a question there, and I know the high school is dealing with it. Youth activities, Scouts gets the greatest favor amongst our respondents, 74%. Then the Interact and the Youth Exchange are in the 60% range. Community events, Santa on the Green, overwhelmingly the favorite. Art on the Green also very high, but Taste of Hudson, not so much, and I do think that might just go away. Charitable organization grants. Again, I think it may be the time, but Hudson Food Bank is supported by 83% of you. Then the Hudson Job Search and HCTV are ranked very important. And finally, the special awards, both the Sutphen and the Rotarian of the Year are highly supported. So let's look at the club activities themselves. And in this case, we had a ranking of from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. And the weekly meeting speakers was nearly perfect, 4.9. And the rest were also very highly rated. The candidates debate considered very important. Fundraising, obviously very important to our club. The interviews that Mike or that John has been doing and the panels that we've had also rated highly. Hudson Youth Speakers, very important to the club, and Fine Day, an institution. All these are high scores and I think represent an overwhelming endorsement of our current programming. Not a whole lot of work has to be done. So then we looked in the survey at future club priorities. And in order of preference, your thoughts were that diversity is the most important. And a close runner up to that would be taking on a high profile community project. And also membership for neighboring communities that perhaps don't have a Rotary Club to go to. And then the last two, social events and business networking, were a little over 50%. And there were some negative comments about business networking that I think we need to address. So let's look at a few of the comments, and I'm not going to read them all. But under health services, we certainly should favor EMS during the pandemic. Under youth and educational services, it's interesting that there are a number of comments throughout the returns to the effect that we ought to embrace all areas of youth development, and that would include education and recreation. And I think the philosophy here is that if we get more involved with youth organizations, we will get more involved with younger parents and maybe find a few more prospects for Rotary in that younger category. A lot of comments about scholarships. Different people thought they should be at different levels. And certainly a couple of people indicated that they should go to those that need them rather than just duplicate the scholarships that so many other organizations in town provide. And there seemed to be a number of comments about improving our activities with the Western Reserve Interact Club. Under youth activities, Scout Cabin was certainly something that people were very interested in and recognized that we were the original sponsor. Under community activities, there's a feeling maybe we ought to be more involved with senior activities and perhaps the Senior Advisory Committee. And in general, there seemed to be support for any community activity that would create a higher public profile for the club. And that relates to the last point in this list of community activities. We need a higher profile project to build public awareness. We do a lot of things that the public doesn't really know we do. And unlike Kiwanis that is constantly in the news, we need to have more recognition. Finally, the general comments, you can read them, but I thought it was interesting. There was a suggestion that we maybe couples membership, and that for any environmental project that we adopt, we certainly ought to collaborate with the city and the schools. So let's see from Maryland now, what kind of major considerations the committee has reviewed.
You know, if there's been really one thing that COVID has done, and that is that it's been disruptive. You know, as we have not been meeting in person and we've not held so many of the events that we're so well known for, it's really been a challenge to be a Rotary Club. And it's brought a time of introspection. And these are some of the things that we've really considered. You know, Rotary has a very formal program for training future leaders. And we've not always had the time or the ability to take advantage of that. We've also not always had a good plan in place for identifying people who are open to becoming leadership within our club. And I think that's something that we really need to address. Most of the other organizations that I've held leadership positions in, we've been able to identify 3 and 4 years out who are people who are potential leaders. And I would like our club to consider that as well. It shouldn't be a rush in the end of the year or the beginning of a season to find new leadership. The reality is being in leadership in this club is not difficult because there are so many people who step forward and are willing to chair many of our events. And we have a very active and very professional speakers committee that does much of the work. So the issue for us is identifying leadership early, encouraging people to consider leadership, and to really, I think it's just knowing that you have the support of everyone within the club, and that we want people to succeed at their leadership positions. As we look at everything that happens during the course of our year, this is a good time to consider what we want to keep and what we don't need. And that is part of what this committee has been challenged to look at. And the good news is that we're finding that most of the events that we do are very well received and are worthy of continuation. We know that a high profile community project is something that most of our members are interested in engaging with right now. And we're not sure what that should be. We have several suggestions that we're coming forward with. And later in this program, we're going to try and rank our top 3 by taking a poll. We've been very fortunate this year in that the fact that we have 4 and possibly soon to be 5 new members coming in. But that means also we need to orient and welcome and get people involved. And that what I've tried to do with each of these is make sure that each new member has a mentor. So today, when Nicole is inducted, her mentor is James Field. It's someone she knows. It's someone who's primarily, his big job is to make introductions and to make sure that Nicole feels welcome when we meet together in person. And a point of contact if she has questions about what are we doing here, or what is the foundation about? You know, it's a friend within the club who's meant to make sure that her membership is successful. We know that our weekly programs are strong. Many of the Rotary clubs in our district are having some difficulty adapting to Zoom. And I've attended some of their meetings and they're small. These are clubs that have 45 to 50 members and they're getting 8 to attend a Zoom meeting. That has not been our issue. And I attribute much of that to the fact that we have a very strong speakers committee, people who take the job serious and are reaching out to find good content for our weekly meetings. And the fortunate thing is at this point, the Speakers Committee has determined the monthly focus from this point through December. And so we're hard at work at getting things organized and ready to go for the remainder of the year. But what we're lacking is really social and networking events. And we understand that COVID doesn't allow that to happen right now. But when we do come together, I'd like to be able to say that we're ready to jump it and get right back into that as we go. We've had some fundraising activities in the past. I think everyone in the club is very proud of the fact that we were responsible for raising over a third of the amount that went to the EMS project. And the fact that we partnered together with the Hudson Clock Tower Club to make that happen, to represent one Rotary heart in this community, I think is important. And I think in the future, we're going to do that with Clock Tower again. Now, we all know that the gala last year was postponed and then canceled. And we can't do that again. We have gone through most of the rainy day fund that we had so wisely set aside for something just like this. But who knew that it was going to be a pandemic that was going to do that? So this year, delaying our fundraising is really not an option. And so we're going to have to get creative. And that means that we're going to have to do something in regards to addressing what we normally would have had for a gala. And we're jumping that off this Friday. So we're moving forward. We're going to see where this project takes us, whether it be virtual or whether we be in person. We've got some ideas coming forward. Lastly, our marketing and public relations. The hub is changing. The hub is now a weekly newspaper, but we've always had good success at getting our content displayed, especially because we give them copy-ready content. And much of that is due to the wonderful work that Jay has done along these lines. We've had photos that we can give them, and we are now finding a new outlet in the Hudson Life magazine as well. We're finding that we can drive people to our content on the YouTube, and that these are great things. So anyway, we know that a committee of one, which essentially our marketing is right now, is something that we need to work on in the future. So could we go to the next slide, please?
Shall I take it from here?
Sure.
All righty. Throughout our meetings over the last 6 months, two themes came out very predominantly. And first of all was sustainability. And secondly, leadership. So we thought that we perhaps should look at the structure of the club, particularly the management structure, and make a few suggestions. The following would represent what we see as the management structure of the club, all to be approved, obviously. The Rotary Board, obviously extremely important, oversees the committees, guides the foundation, does the succession planning, leadership training, long-range planning, budgeting, and special awards. The Rotary Foundation, which is really the heart of our organization and has had many talented members on it over the years, is in charge of fund and grant management in coordination with the Rotary Board. Next slide. Now, the committees that we see would include membership development, we already have that, programs and social events, obviously functioning very well, youth leadership development and education. Now, within this committee, we would include scouts, service learning, Interact Club, four-way speech, and scholarships. The next committee would be community service, health, and safety. And under this committee, we would see the Gift of Life, Food Bank, EMS, Job Search, and any environmental project that we might adopt. Then we have the community events, and of course we do a good job there, but we think one committee ought to deal with Santa on the Green, Art on the Green, parades, concerts, whatever. Marketing and public relations, obviously that's brochures, website, articles, HCTV, YouTube, so on. We need to expand that a little bit. And finally, we thought that fundraising should be considered in one committee because it's all interrelated. And that would include the gala, the fall campaign, Fine Day, and any other project that we might take on. And if you look at the structure of the committee, which would be the next slide, we envision committees of 3 members minimum, including a board representative. And then we would like to see more reporting to the board through minutes and then through the board to the membership. And finally, the leadership should be a 2-year term for committee chair, but renewable by vote of the committee and board approval. And the theory behind all of this is that we want the opportunity for more people, and we have a lot of talented people, to get involved in the different committees and provide their ideas. So let's move on to the service project ideas. And Pat, would you lead us in that discussion?
Be happy to. So these are just some suggested ideas. We're not limited to these ideas, but we're going to be voting on these ideas in just a few minutes. So we've talked at length about the scout cabin and the need that it has some physical issues with the cabin, and that needs to be done. But it's also probably our greatest opportunity to have a big impact in downtown Hudson, and potentially getting a big Rotary marker up next to the cabin and some of those kind of things as well. We've started on number 2, the pollinator gardens. We've started doing some investigating of potentially starting a pollinator garden at each one of the school campuses in Hudson. And then working with the school district to construct those so that they become not only there for nature and the environment, but also potentially for educational components for the schools the campuses that they are at. With that would also potentially become a marketing campaign on how individuals within Hudson can have what plants that they should plant in and around their house to attract pollinators and to increase our pollinator population. Third one, recreation facilities for youth and seniors. We haven't really defined this one. Everything from potentially a pickleball court to any kind of activity locations that we could create opportunities for youth and seniors to being able to participate. Number 4, student mental health support program. This is where we would potentially partner with another organization to go back to our speaker 2 weeks ago about the depression and those kind of things within the youth community and anxiety, and what we could potentially do as a club to alleviate that or to provide the right channels to get help for young people that are in that area. Number 5 is the Teacher Youth Organization Leadership Program. This would be more for educating our teachers on how to, at an earlier time, especially with elementary and early middle school students, identifying kids that potentially have anxiety or depression issues so that we can get them help at a much earlier age. Number 6 is McDowell School Playground. Currently, there is not a playground, and we've been approached by the school district about potentially partnering with them about helping to develop a playground on that school campus. And number 7 is a climate change project. There's a number of opportunities here. One example is the city of Hudson is looking at electric car charging stations. And not that we would buy those charging stations or anything like that, but we might be in charge of the public relations component of that and making the public aware of what's going on in relationship to those. And that's just one potential example of a climate change kind of a project that we could get involved in locally. One thing that we are confident of is that our Rotary Club can juggle more than one ball at a time. So we are not thinking that we need to do just one of these. We think we probably could do 2 to 3 of these. Some of these would be reoccurring projects. Some of them are one-off projects. Some are much larger in magnitude in terms of revenue that we would need to have to do those. So James is going to set up a poll, and we're going to ask you to, on the first poll, we're going to ask you to vote for your first choice. And then after, we'll close that poll, and then we're going to ask you to vote for your second choice. And then on the third poll, we're going to ask you to vote for your third choice. So James, are we ready to do the polls?
Yeah, so I'm going to take your presentation off the screen for a second.
Okay,
here.
I can stop sharing. Yep.
Okay. And just a little fair warning, I'm kind of new at setting up polls, so bear with me as we go through this. Actually, I think it's set up as 3 questions. You know, the first question, you make your first choice, second question, your second choice, third question, your third choice. All the options will show up, so please make a different choice on the second and third questions than your first one. And also the order was changed, so that way we don't have order bias in the survey. So without further ado, I'll see if I can just launch this thing. Your polling session is inactive. Oh. Let's see. Oh no, I set the poll on one computer and it's telling me I can't use it on this computer. Boy, we may have to do this at a future meeting. I went through and set up this entire poll, but for some reason it's saying that it can't access it even though it's on the same account. You're logged in from another device. Oh, so Marilyn, I'm going to have you, you might have somehow logged in under my name. So I'm going to have you log out, and then that
Okay.
might give me the, and just log in as, you know, just go through the normal.
Okay,
To come
I
back
can
in.
do that. Okay.
Yeah, let's see if it lets me do this now. Oh boy.
Probably okay, James. We've all forgotten the list by now anyway.
Yeah, so
James, maybe I can suggest that,
letting,
let me suggest that Pat open the meeting for comments with regard to some of these projects, because we might have people that are particularly interested in one project or another, or have a comment about it.
okay, I apologize. I had set up this whole poll, but it keeps feeding back to me that I can't access the poll. So we could go ahead, Jay, and just have people, you know, text, you know, chat in what they want. Meanwhile, I may actually log out and then log back in to see if this will allow me to show the poll. So,
Jay, it may be actually more useful to us on the committee and making sense of it if people have a little bit longer time to think about these priorities and what they, what they mean, because some of them are very amorphous yet because they're not officially framed and there's no information for people to go look at to see what they would involve. So if comments come back, that would be useful.
Yeah.
And we may want to do the poll a couple of meetings down pike.
okay. Yeah, so maybe we could send out the presentation to everyone by
So Chris Foster.
Yeah, why it's not showing my poll.
Okay, so Chris Foster shared that the Parks Board has sent a proposal for pickleball and tennis courts. Their master plan calls for 5 tennis courts and 12 pickleball courts at the Barlow Farm, around 2023 range, plus or minus, depending on funding, parks, the money, and engineering and staff. So that might be potential. That would fit in with number 3, the recreation facility and seniors and youth. Maybe we could help speed up the process of getting some of those established.
Yeah, and we did say that the refurbishing of the scout camp, and I think last year we said that that was a high priority. So unless we say it isn't, we do have some feel for that commitment on a long-term basis.
Well, the other thing that we have talked about is establishing some focus groups, which would include members of Rotary and particularly members of the community that would have a particular interest or expertise in one or more of these areas, be it recreation or mental health or climate change. So when you think about this, give us your comments and also indicate whether you would be willing to be part of a focus group on a particular project. Okay. Is Marilyn still on?
I am back.
You might as well cover the next steps and
Okay.
we can get on with this.
All right. We have been technically challenged this morning. There is no doubt about that. And I'm wondering if some of this might be related to the cold weather that we're not so accustomed to having here. But anyway, our next steps are actually to move forward. And today at our board meeting, we will be looking at a measure to adopt our mission, vision, and value statements, because that is the core. That is the core that we're always going to go back to, that these are ideals that represent us, and that everything that we do moving forward must be reflective of that. I think it's important that we continue to listen to our own members as well as our community. It doesn't do us any good to create a project if the community does not share our passion. And so I think it's important that we proceed in that way. What we know is that many of our committees have been led by the same people for a very long time. And what we also know is that sometimes those people are wanting to step down from those leadership positions and to transition, but there's not an easy way to do that if there aren't other people who are working with them. So that's the major reason for making sure that our committees have depth, but also that they can develop leadership that comes from within. Because in many situations, if we have someone stepping down, they take with them many years of knowledge, and sometimes that isn't easy for the new person assuming responsibility to actually gather and to take benefit of. We're looking for new ways, innovative ways to approach our fundraising. Times have changed, and we need to change as well. We need to be accountable in all that we do. And we need to have the methods for doing statistical analyses and post-event, reviews to make sure that we're consistent with our values, that we are making the best use of our volunteer hours as well. And we need to prepare a final strategic plan report so that the board knows after all of our events and our activities, what's actually happening. Best practices indicate that a strategic plan needs to be created about every 3 to 5 years, but also reviewed every year to make sure that we're consistent in what we do. And we're thinking that the winter months, February and March, are a good time to do that. In one of the things that I did in preparing for becoming your leader this year was to do a club assessment. And to tell you the truth, we scored so well. But the one area we were lacking in was in this particular area of strategic planning and taking a careful, considerate approach towards what it is that we do and plan to do for the future. So let's go to our next step. Oh, looks like we can do the poll. Shall we step back and try and run that real quickly?
Yeah, I just re-logged in and it looks like it's letting me do the poll. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll and see if that works. Here we go.
There we are. Absolutely. How
Okay, does
wonderful.
everyone see a poll?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
This is great.
So go ahead and answer. So please go ahead and answer the poll.
What are we supposed to be doing?
I can't, it won't submit.
It disappeared too.
Oh, no, as you don't have to submit. As you answer the poll, it's showing up the results.
So just click on one of the three.
Just click on one of the three. It should highlight it and then tell it to go to the next question. Click
Okay, put it back up there then.
Mine worked.
Mine worked.
Yeah, mine worked as
Yeah,
well.
mine worked just fine.
Mine,
Yeah.
mine worked. You just have to make sure you answer all three of them.
Yeah, and you can keep scrolling down and choose one from each set.
And
I
make
don't
sure-
see the,
Make
I
sure
don't
to
see the
vote,
poll
vote
anymore.
frequently.
Where's the poll?
Well, if you push submit, it's gone.
Right. But James should have that.
Yes.
I don't have it.
So not everybody got the poll.
Well,
Hey,
or
it's working
still
well.
has. If they click submit, I believe that the program considers you to be completed, even
Right.
if you didn't respond.
The visual disappears.
Right.
Well, I had it until I hit unmute.
Oh,
Maybe it's
They don't want to hear
behind.
what you have to say, Ron.
This is not a formal vote. It's an indicator of what people are feeling at this point in time. Even though, we may change minds if we have more information about one or the other, or not. But it
It's going
gives
to
the
provide some
committee a
guidance
feel.
for us on where we need to spend our time investigating projects, and we don't want to be investigating 7 when there's not club support for an area. So.
okay, James, how are we looking?
James is gone.
No, I show he's still here as
Oh,
the
is he?
host.
Oh,
The poll's still here, but James disappeared.
Yeah, so
yeah.
my internet is, as I warned you earlier, my internet is glitching in and out. So,
Yeah.
so I show that 28 of 35 have voted so far.
Pretty good.
And
We're going to give it just a few more seconds and we'll go ahead and see if we can get a preliminary.
Yep.
At this point, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask of this strategic planning committee? I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who participated with it. JR did a wonderful job of leading this group and keeping us on task. And Mike Swain, Mimi Becker, Allison Feaster, Patrick Shear, John Adams. We asked of your time and your talents, and you gave us both. And I was really, really appreciative of your support in this.
Hey, Marilyn, are you going to email these slides to the club?
We can. We can, so that people have an opportunity to take a look at them. Absolutely.
We'll send it
Patrick
out to
Shear is the
everybody
person
as a
who did
Send
that.
it out as a PDF file so that it's easily emailable instead of in a PowerPoint version. So.
yes,
Right.
Does the pollinator garden include butterfly?
yes,
It does?
yes. Butterflies, anything that's pollinator, birds, butterflies, bees, wasps.
Okay, that would
So-
be a good, yeah.
I'm not seeing any more. We have 29 responses. I'm not seeing that increasing. So
Okay.
I'm going to click end poll, and hopefully after I click end poll, it comes back with the results.
That's slick.
Like I
As
said, this is
opposed
my
to
first
being
time
a-
running this thing.
That's slick.
This is called
As opposed to
experiential
having
learning.
it go away.
Well, while we're talking, I'm going to start wrapping up just a little bit. The Gala Committee, here we go. Okay, so excellent. As you can see, our strongest support is, of course, for the Scout Cabin. And then coming in at second, it looks like a recreation facilities for the community, for seniors and youth. And then mental health and the McDowell School
That's-
Playground. Now each question is ranking.
Question one.
So, wow. Okay.
So question one, number one was the Scout Cabin.
Yep.
Question two, or
Was
priority
McDowell.
2 was McDowell's Playground. And then number 3 was recreation facility for youth and seniors.
Okay. Excellent. Well,
That's
that gives us an
interesting.
idea of what the group is thinking about. So the Gala Committee is scheduled to meet this Friday at noon to kick off our 2021 season. It's a great committee. We can always use more ideas, more help, and we have a good time too. I urge you to seriously consider joining us, and we're going to get creative this year. So, Katie, bar the door. I'll be sending a quick link for that meeting to all club members, simply so that if you're interested in joining, pop in, check us out, see if this is something that you're interested in doing. Now, next week, the foundation board will be meeting after our regularly scheduled Zoom meeting, and all active Rotarians are encouraged to join. We're also going to be hearing from Dr. Rob McGregor, the medical director of the physicians group at Akron Children's Hospital, and he is the current president of the Akron Rotary Club. So hopefully he will share a bit about how their Chili Open went this last weekend. The Chili Open is famous within Northeast Ohio for its ability to raise funds, often in excess of $300,000 a year, in support of the Rotary Camp that serves disabled children during the summer. Now, lastly, I mentioned in my Sunday bulletin that next week is Celebrate a Random Act of Kindness Week, which is sponsored by the Hudson League for Service. This international event was brought to our community by Marty Hills, the spouse of Bob Hills, a longtime very active Rotarian and former past president. So let's get with the spirit, send a note, make a call, do a small act of kindness, and play it forward and make this a better world. We're going to end today looking back in history, and it's not going to be me who's doing this. Ron Strobel, tell us what you've got going on there.
Well, Marilyn, I only have one thing, and it happens to be a very important date. On this day in 1962, Ron Strobel met Suzanne Bartley on a blind date, and the rest is history.
And what a history it was. How wonderful. Okay. Yes. So we're going to adjourn this meeting at this point, and we'll resume in a few minutes for the board meeting. Okay. Despite all of the technical challenges, we did make it.
Yeah, that came out well, I thought.